everyone, my name is Sarah and today I'm going to be doing my April reading wrap-up. I read a whopping 14 books in April. I'm very proud of myself. Out of those, 13 are physical books and one is an audiobook. I had a really great reading month in April. I loved the absolute majority of what I read, which is really great. Most of the books I read are new releases, so you should definitely get these on your TBR if you haven't already. And yeah, let's get into it. The first book I read in April was SHERWOOD by Megan Spooner. SHERWOOD was our book of the month for the YA room and it's a retelling of Robin Hood. I was really excited to dive into this one because I love Megan's books that she co-writes with Amy Kaufman, so I hoped this one would be just as spectacular as like the Starbound trilogy, for example. However, I was let down. This isn't a bad book by any means. It's still like maybe 2-star. I've never really read the original Robin Hood or seen any of the films or anything like that, so I didn't really know what to expect going in. However, I felt like the character of Marion just kind of fell flat to me. She wasn't really three-dimensional at all. She was grieving and it was really great to see that kind of process of her overcoming the realization, you know, that Robin is dead. But beyond that, she didn't really have a lot going for her. I mean, she could wield a sword, but that's basically it. I just wasn't really a fan of this one, unfortunately. The next book I read in April was The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. Now this book, on the other hand, oh my god, instant 5 stars. I have been looking forward to this book for ages and finally I got it in my possession and it was absolutely spectacular. This is the start of a new series about Magnus and Alec, my OTP, honestly. And it's about their vacation to Paris where they kind of discover that there's this demonic cult that Magnus apparently founded. So they have to figure out what's really going on and who put Magnus up to this, or like what happened and why he can't remember what happened way back when that cult was founded. But what I just loved most about this book was how funny it was. Like, I was laughing out loud on every page. I just could not read this book without having the biggest smile on my face. I probably looked like a complete twat on public transport, but you know what? It's worth it. If you're looking for a cute, fun book with lots of great banter, this is the book for you. Next up, a book I also read in April was Small Town Hearts by Lily Vale. This is the cutest contemporary I have read in a long time. Oh my god, it was absolutely perfect. This one has been on my TBR ever since the cover was revealed because, I mean, with that cover, how could I not read it? It's basically about this girl who lives in a small town and her 2 best friends are going away to college next year, except they suddenly break up and it makes it really awkward for like the 3 of them. Meanwhile, there's a cute new guy in town who's an artist and he's staying for the summer to like work on his art projects. Oh my god, swoon. And then our protagonist's ex comes back to town, so like it's all happening this summer and it was just so much fun to read. She works in a cafe, so you got all those cute cafe vibes and artist boy swoony moments. It was just spectacular. Plus our protagonist is bi as well, so it was great to see that representation. And yeah, this was just like the most adorable book I've ever read. If you're a fan of cute fluffy contemporaries, definitely pick up Small Town Hearts. The next book I read was The Nearer Witch by Victoria Schwab, my queen, yes! Oh my god, where do I even begin? She's just the best author who has ever graced the earth with her presence. Honestly, what an inspiration. I got to meet her at Supernova and I will never stop bringing this up because she talked to me and so emotional. So of course, when her debut novel was re-released, I had to grab a copy. Or 2. Or 3. Because I'm trash. The Nearer Witch is basically about this spooky, like foggy town where there's stories of a witch and there's a boy who kind of like appears out of nowhere and he doesn't seem to be quite real. There's a lot of things going on and it's very creepy. The Near Witch does read like a first book, like her writing style is not quite there yet and it's vastly different to like say A Darker Shade of Magic. It was still a really great story, but I didn't enjoy it as much simply because I had the bar so high already from like loving her other books. I think if I read this one first, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. But because I'm comparing it to things like A Darker Shade of Magic and This Savage Song, like, honestly, you can't top those books. So, yeah, this book was fine. It was just no Kel and Lila. Still loved it though. Next up, I read Slayer by Kirsten White, which is our new Buffy story. Last month, I finished watching Buffy for the very first time. Oh my god, it was absolutely incredible. I don't know why I waited so long. Probably because I wasn't born when it first aired. But you know, I was high-key considering reading this book while I was binging the last series of Buffy just because I couldn't be awake and not be consuming Buffy content. Like, it was impossible. Every waking moment I was thinking about Buffy and Spike and Willow and Tara and just everyone in the Buffy universe. I just love every single one of them. So I was like, I need to read this new novel. But I'm really glad I decided to hang back and wait until I finished the last series to read Slayer because it would have spoiled everything. I know you can go into this book without previously watching Buffy, but if you don't want to know how the last season of Buffy ends and what happens, wait until you've watched it to read this book. This book follows the life of Nina, who is training to become a Watcher, but then she realizes she also has Slayer powers. It's about her kind of figuring out who she really is and what her place in the world is when she's been told that she's a Watcher the whole of her life. It's hard not to compare this story to Buffy because Buffy is just absolutely spectacular and like none of my faves are in this book. If you take it away from Buffy and just read this as its own entity, it's a really entertaining book. But I was just like, where is Spike? Still a really enjoyable one. Definitely recommend for fans of Buffy. Next up, I read The Fever King by Victoria Lee, which is basically a book that everyone has been looking forward to reading. Unfortunately, I wasn't really a fan. This book sounded so good. I mean, queer rep, Jewish rep, it takes place in like a futuristic society where they're answering the same questions about immigration and stuff like that. So it's really necessary. I just didn't love it. I know a lot of people really enjoyed this book. I mean, it has a great queer romance. It discusses some really important issues. I just really struggled getting into it. I felt like I couldn't really connect with the characters and that really let down the book for me. I'm much more of a character person over like a setting or a plot person. And because I felt kind of distanced from our protagonist, I just couldn't fall into it in the way that I hoped. If you're a fan of sci-fi or futuristic novels, I definitely recommend giving this one a go. I know that my opinion is different from the vast majority, so I do recommend picking it up even if you're like the slightest bit interested. Next up, I read Can't Beat the Chemistry by Kat Colmer. This is another cute contemporary book I read in April. Oh my god, I just loved it with all of my heart. And it's La Pause YA, which I really feel like I haven't read enough of this month. This is a book about a girl called MJ who just wants to succeed in high school and she's just focusing on her grades and trying to do the best that she can. But then she is forced to tutor this deadbeat drummer guy called Luke, and she is not here for it. But she comes to realize that maybe Luke can teach her a thing or two about life, and like a little friendship between them starts to flourish. Super adorable. It reminded me of You Asked for Perfect, so if you liked this one and you love cute contemporaries, definitely pick this one up. The next book I read in April was The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. Oh my god, I've been hearing such amazing things about this book for ages and finally I picked it up. I mean, look how gorgeous that cover is. how could I not love it? This book is about a boy named Prosper whose great-great-great-great-great-grandfather made a deal with a demon. After this great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather broke his promise with the demon, it turns out that now a demon lives inside of this boy named Prosper so many years after. But Prosper doesn't have long to get rid of this demon who is threatening to seek vengeance on his whole family. So he has to try and stop that. It was just such an adorable book. This one is middle grade, so it'll give you all the like cute middle grade feels. But it is really great for like readers of all age. Like I know a ton of YA readers would really enjoy this one too. I just had so much fun with this book. It's like spooky and Halloween vibes, and there's a lot of like lovely friendship in it as well. So yes, definitely pick this one up. I cannot wait to read the second book. Next up, I read The Steel Prince by Queen Victoria Schwab. What a surprise. This is the first bind-up of her comic series who follows the life of Maxim Marash. This book is basically just about how badass his life is. The comic style is absolutely glorious. I loved it. I could not put this down. It took me like half an hour to devour, and it was just spectacular. I'm in love with like so many new characters. Yes, I cannot wait to read the second installment. This was just such a fun read. It's really fast-paced and easy to get through. Absolutely loved it. Next up, I also read Izzy and Tristan by Shannon Dunlap. This one is a retelling of Tristan and Iseult, which I did not know. Everyone's like, oh my god, the retelling, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I just went into this book expecting like a fun contemporary, and I didn't really love it. I feel like maybe if I knew the original story, I could have like compared it to something and had like more of an idea of what it was really gonna be about, but I had no clue. The romance didn't really feel like 100% there for me. I wasn't really like connected to these characters. It was alright. It was like a book I read. I can't really pick out any discernible characteristics about it though. Meh. Not for me. The next book I read in April was The Devouring Grey by Christine Lynn Herman. Oh my god, that book was absolutely spectacular. I listened to it on audio and I really enjoyed that format. I felt like it was told really well. But this is a book I've been looking forward to ever since the cover was revealed, and I absolutely fell in love with it. It's about a town where there are 4 different founding families, and there are 4 children who are like descendants from those founding families, and they have to come together to stop this beast who like lurks on the edge of the forest, taking over the town and basically destroying everything. This book gave me major Stranger Things vibes, so if you love Stranger Things, definitely pick up this book. It was creepy, it had queer rep, it had 4 teens having to band together. Seriously, what more could you want in a novel? Add it to your TBR right now because you do not want to miss it. The second to last book I read in April was Promise Me Happy by Robert Newton. This is another Love Us YA novel, and it's about this boy who just gets out of juvie and he is forced to live with his uncle who neither likes him nor wants him. Nate's had a really tough life and nothing's really gone his way, and now he's stuck in this small fishing town. He gets to know this girl who lives there and a cute friendship starts to bloom, which is really lovely to see. But basically this book is just an exploration about overcoming hardships and kind of understanding that your past doesn't define you. Definitely get a box of tissues for this one because you will be sobbing by the end. And finally, the last book I read in April was How It Feels to Float by Helena Fox. This is a Love Us YA novel about a girl called Biz who is still grieving after the loss of her father. It's about her friendship with the people at her school. It's about unexpected friendships that she makes in the most unlikely of places. It's about mental health and sex and discovering your sexuality. And seriously, everything about this book was absolutely amazing. I loved the way this one was told and how her father kind of has an active role and she kind of sees him as though he's a ghost. And I felt like it was just really raw and powerful, and her mental illness was really realistic. Definitely pick this one up. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It's gotta be one of my favorite Love Us YA reads of the year. So if you haven't read it yet, definitely read it. So yeah, these are all the books I read in April. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about them, and if any of them interest you, definitely add them to your TBR. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these already, if you're planning on picking them up, or just what your favorite book of April was. I would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new video. Bye everyone!